Hey guys, tonight we wander toward a quiet shore you've never stood on before. The sky is misted over with the faintest blush of lavender twilight. And the sea breathes in long, deep rhythms. You're barefoot. Of course, the sand is soft and cool like moon-dipped velvet. In the distance, seagulls fly slow circles, as if tracing invisible halos in the air. You're here because something called you, though you wouldn't quite know how to explain it. Just a feeling, like a thought that didn't start with you. You probably wouldn't make it here if you questioned too much. But thankfully, tonight, you didn't. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love for you to share where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk slowly, each footstep sinking with a hushed sigh. It's not just sand beneath you, it feels like time itself has been layered here. As if memories from lifetimes past are sleeping under the grains, whispering softly through your souls. There's one seashell lying by itself. Apart from the rest, it doesn't glisten, it doesn't shine. It just waits. The curve of it is simple, worn, imperfect, but when you kneel and pick it up, the texture is oddly warm, like someone else held it just moments before you. Inside the shell, the spiral runs deeper than your eyes can follow. You tilt it to your ear, of course, expecting the ocean's roar, but instead, there's a low hum, and within it, something else. A faint tone, like the distant hum of a lullaby. Not quite music, not quite memory, but familiar. Like the tune your grandmother once hummed while folding sheets in the afternoon sun. You sit down on the sand, the shell still pressed to your ear. The melody deepens, becomes less sound and more sensation. You feel your heartbeat slow, matching the rhythm of something ancient and calm. Some say seashells carry the voices of the sea. But maybe they carry the voices of us, fragments of all the versions we've been. All still whispering. A small crab scuttles past your toes, lifting its claw like a casual wave. You smile, and even that smile feels older than today. Like the shoreline itself recognizes you. The way you might recognize a friend who changed their hair but not their eyes. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you let the shell do the talking. It tells you stories, not in words, but in color. You see the silvery blue of childhood dreams, the dusty amber of long-forgotten mistakes, the soft blush of love you gave away without asking for anything back. It all swirls through the spiral like a gentle tide washing over your mind. You breathe in deeply. There's a lesson hidden in this beach, quiet, like everything else here. It's this. What is meant for you doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply waits until you're ready to notice. Like this shell, like this moment, a breeze picks up, and with it comes a scent, salt, driftwood, and something sweeter, like jasmine blooming far away. You could swear you hear laughter, too, faint, almost behind the wind, not mocking, joyful, like old friends calling from across a distance that's not really distance. You open your eyes. The world hasn't changed, but you have. You stand, still holding the seashell. It feels a little heavier now, as if it's absorbed something of you. 2. The way a journal becomes thicker with every secret written into it. You look down the beach. The sand continues, curving out of sight, but you know now this isn't just a beach. It's a passage, a timeline, a trail made of all the silent lessons you've walked past before. And this time, you're listening. There's no rush. The journey waits with you. Not for you. Each step ahead promises another soft truth. Another seashell. Somewhere far behind you. The tide gently wipes away your first footprint, but it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like forgiveness. You walk slowly now, shell still in hand. Its spiral cradled like a thought you're not ready to let go of. The sand becomes finer as you go. Softer, like sifted flour. Every so often, you feel something underfoot, another shell, perhaps, or the edge of some buried memory, but you don't stop for them yet. Not when this one still hums softly in your palm. You hold it to your ear again. The sound has changed. No longer a lullaby. It's a whisper now. A voice not made of words, but of tone and rhythm. Like someone trying to remind you of a story they're sure you once knew. And maybe you did. The spiral inside the shell feels endless. Your fingertips trace its edge, and your mind drifts in circles. Like a leaf caught in gentle current. There's something mesmerizing about how it draws you in, not with force, but with invitation, like the best kind of friend. The whisper inside speaks of patience, of how the sea never rushes the tide, never pushes the moon for more light. It tells you that maybe the answers you've been waiting for are still forming their own questions. And that's okay. Some say a whisper is just a weak voice. But maybe a whisper is the strongest kind of voice. The kind that trusts you'll lean in closer to hear. A seagull glides overhead, silent but watchful, like a sky-sent companion. You wonder if it's been flying with you since you arrived, or longer. You don't remember noticing it before. But it doesn't matter. It's here now, and it feels like it always was. You stop walking and look out at the sea. Waves come and go with measured grace. And for a moment, you wonder, if they carried messages between the worlds, what would they say? Would they bring dreams to the shore at night and take away sorrow in the morning? Maybe the ocean is just the world's oldest messenger. Maybe that's why we listen to it when we can't hear ourselves. A wave reaches far enough to touch your toes, as if to say, yes, that's it, you're listening now. You crouch again, letting the shell dip into the water's edge. The hum softens, quieter now, like it's exhaling, not lost, just peaceful. You think about how often you've ignored quiet things. Not out of cruelty, just out of pace. Life moves fast, and quiet doesn't wave flags. It doesn't demand attention, it waits. The shell teaches you something in that moment. Something small but lasting. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the presence of trust. You sit for a while. Let your thoughts breathe. The breeze picks up and carries with it a scent of sea lavender and old driftwood. It reminds you of somewhere you've never been, but somehow miss. There's a little rock nearby, half buried in the sand. You brush the sand away and see a tiny carving, 3 spirals. Nestled together like family. You smile. Maybe someone else sat here before you. Maybe they heard the same whisper. What if seashells don't just carry messages from the sea, but from each other? Passed from hand to hand across lifetimes. Like shared dreams with no expiration. The sky begins to change. The lavender deepens into a soft indigo. And stars blink into being, shy at first, then more confident. The sea reflects them like a mirror that remembers everything. You lie back on the sand, shell resting beside your ear. It's stopped humming now, but you can still feel it, like an echo in your chest. You close your eyes, and the questions come, not harsh, not anxious, just curious. What else have I missed by rushing? Whose voice have I drowned out by speaking too loudly? What parts of me still wait to be heard? The waves answer without answers. Just their rhythmic hush, as if to say, you're asking the right way. You smile again. This beach, this night, this shell, it's all becoming something more than metaphor. More than dream. It's memory. In reverse. Not remembering something that happened, but something you're about to understand. Somewhere nearby, a bell chimes once, faint and warm. You don't see its source. Maybe it was inside the shell all along. You rise slowly, feeling the sand release you gently. The shell rests in your hand now like it knows it has done its part. The journey isn't over, but the message has begun. You continue along the shoreline, carrying the seashell with a reverence usually reserved for old letters or lullabies remembered from childhood. The tide has receded slightly, and the beach stretches farther now. its wet sands reflecting the deepening sky like polished glass. As you walk, you notice something odd. Your footprints ahead of you. Not beside, not behind, ahead. You pause. That can't be right. Yet there they are. Indentations in the soft sand. Perfectly shaped, perfectly spaced, as if you've already been here and are somehow walking into yourself. You take a cautious step. The print lines up. It's not déjà vu, it's something gentler. Like fate, but with softer hands. Like a suggestion from the universe that your story isn't being written from scratch, but remembered. The sea beside you breathes in long, measured sighs, and the sky above has scattered a few more stars across its canvas. It all feels intentional, and quiet, very quiet. You look back once. Your old footprints are already being softened by the tide. Washed clean, not erased, just accepted. You start to notice a rhythm forming between you and the waves. Every third step you take seems to match a particularly deep crash of water. As if the sea is walking in sync with you. A strange comfort settles in your chest. It reminds you that we are always walking over stories. Our own, other people's, even the Earth's. And sometimes, it remembers us. There's a reflective insight that surfaces here. Easy to miss if you weren't listening. Maybe you're not here to learn something new tonight. Maybe you're just here to remember what your heart never forgot. A low wind rustles through a patch of tall grass sprouting from a dune. And for a moment, you hear laughter. Not close, not eerie, just familiar. The kind you'd hear in the other room of a childhood home. A reminder that not all the echoes from the past are meant to haunt. Some simply want to comfort. Further ahead, you spot a cluster of footprints diverging. One trail leads toward a tangled cluster of dunes. Another toward a dark rock formation that juts like a broken tooth from the beach. But the ones you're following continue forward. Steady. You stay the course. Not because it's safer, not because it's easier, but because it's yours, and you trust it now. A jellyfish rests near the waterline, translucent, luminous, and oddly serene. You bend to look closer. No danger here, just light. It pulses faintly, like it's breathing. You wonder if it has dreams. Maybe everything does. Maybe even the sand dreams of being the ocean. There's a metaphor here. The jellyfish drifts wherever the current takes it, not because it's weak, but because it trusts the sea. How would your life feel if you trusted your current that deeply? You press the shell back to your ear. No whisper now, just the sound of your own breathing reflected back, like a gentle echo, but it's enough. Farther along, you reach a place where the sand changes color. It darkens, not ominous, just different, like the beach itself is turning a page. The shells here are fewer but larger, more textured. They look like fossils, still beautiful, still full of stories. You stoop to pick one up. It's heavy, solid. When you hold it to your ear, it says nothing, and you realize, not all shells speak. Not all are meant to. That's another quiet truth. Not every memory needs revisiting. Not every echo needs answering. You gently place the fossil shell back down and continue on. A light mist begins to roll in, not cold, just soft, like the world is exhaling around you. Each step you take forward into the mist feels like a promise. Not of clarity, but of arrival. Because here's the thing. Your destination isn't somewhere new. It's a reunion. Like meeting yourself in the mirror after years of looking but never quite seeing. Somewhere behind you, the tide is already smoothing over your latest steps. It feels different now, not like erasure, but like gratitude. As if the sea says, "Thank you for walking here again." You smile without meaning to. And though you can no longer see the footprints ahead of you, because the mist has blurred the way, you trust they're still there. You trust you'll find them as you go, or they'll find you. The shell rests against your palm. Quiet now, but you swear it's warmer. The mist thickens as you move ahead, curling like soft silk ribbons around your ankles. It doesn't feel intrusive, It feels almost intentional, as if it's not meant to hide the path, but to slow your pace, to invite you to feel rather than see, to sense rather than search. You welcome the change. Each breath you take carries a bit of salt and something deeper. Something woody and earthen, the kind of smell that only appears when water touches old timber. You follow the scent, and soon, you see it, resting quietly on the sand like a forgotten artifact, a piece of driftwood. Long, pale, and smoothed by years of sea-borne wandering, the driftwood seems ordinary at first glance. But as you step closer, your eyes catch carvings along its length. Not letters, not language, symbols, shapes etched with care, spirals, crescent moons, leaves, and something that looks remarkably like the shell you carry. You kneel down, fingertips hovering above the carvings. You don't touch them yet. There's something sacred about it, like you've found someone else's journal page, and you're not sure if you're allowed to read it. But you do, gently. Your fingers trace the spirals first, and for a second, you remember a version of yourself, young, perhaps, or maybe just freer, carving shapes into a school desk or the corner of a notepad. Not knowing why it felt important. Maybe it's always been in you. This need to mark the moments that don't have words. You run your hand across the driftwood again, and it gives you a quiet understanding. Messages aren't always meant to be deciphered. Some are meant to be felt. You sit beside it, not reading anymore, just listening. The sea continues its hush-hush conversation in the background, and for a moment, the world feels stitched together by secrets too soft to shout. The mist wraps around you like a story not finished yet, and your own breath joins the rhythm of the waves. You look back at the carvings, and one symbol suddenly pulses in your awareness, a shape like a door. Half open. You've seen it before. In a dream? In a drawing from childhood? You can't place it, but it sends a ripple through you, like recognition without context. What if these symbols weren't random? What if they were breadcrumbs from other versions of you, across time, leaving marks for each other like forest signs to find the way back home? You let that thought settle in like warm tea. Then, without needing a reason, you take a nearby stick and add a small symbol of your own. A wave curling into a spiral. You don't know what it means, but you know it belongs here. Somewhere in the dunes behind you, a soft breeze rustles dry grass, and for a fleeting second, you think you hear someone humming, a tune you almost remember. You turn, but no one's there, just the breeze, just the quiet. You look out toward the sea and spot something floating gently in the water, another piece of driftwood, shaped like a small boat. Not quite real, not quite toy. It drifts with purpose, even though no one steers it. It reminds you of the carving again. That door. Maybe every message you've ignored is still waiting to be opened. Maybe forgiveness has been circling you like driftwood on the tide, waiting for you to notice. The seashell in your hand grows warm again. Just slightly. You place it next to the carved driftwood for a moment. Together, they look like artifacts from a life you're only now starting to remember. That's the funny thing about reflection. It doesn't always show you something new. Sometimes it gently confirms that what you've suspected in your quietest moments was always true. You are not lost. You've just been circling the parts of yourself you were never ready to see. The mist begins to lighten, pulling back slowly like curtains at dawn. You stand, once again holding the seashell, its hum now silent but present, like a friend walking beside you. The driftwood remains behind, its carvings exposed to the sky. You don't look back this time. Not because you're leaving something behind, but because you're carrying it with you now. The mist gives way to a slope of gentle dunes ahead, and the sound of the waves shifts to a deeper resonance. Like a conversation growing more intimate. Something is waiting up ahead. And now, you're ready to listen. The dunes rise before you like sleeping giants, their curves soft and golden under the starlit sky. Each step you take upward sends a quiet hiss of sand down the slopes. A reminder that everything moves, even the ground beneath you, even the memories you once thought settled. You pause at the top of the tallest dune. Below, the landscape opens into something unexpected, a shallow inlet cradled by rocks, where the sea has poured itself gently into the land. It glistens under the stars like liquid glass, unmoving yet impossibly alive. At its edge, there stands a small wooden bench, weathered, silent, waiting. You descend slowly, the shell still warm in your hand, as though it too recognizes this place. When you reach the bench, you run your fingers across its backrest. There's no plaque, no name, just deep grooves where others must have rested, stared out, waited for something, or maybe let something go. You sit, not because you're tired, but because this place feels like a pause in a sentence that was rushing too fast. A comma, not a period. The still water reflects the night perfectly, every star, every shadow, every flicker of movement in the sky above. You wonder, if you leaned far enough, could you fall into the sky's reflection and land among the stars? It's a gentle, what if? But it tickles the edges of your imagination. And that's enough to make you smile. You raise the shell to your ear again. Stillness. But it no longer feels like silence. It feels like permission. Permission to sit, to breathe, to not fill the empty space. And with that, your mind begins to wander. Softly and without resistance. You think of conversations you've never had but always longed for. Of someone sitting beside you, not speaking, just existing with you in shared quiet. There's a comfort in that kind of togetherness. No performance, no need to be more than you are. You lean back slightly, letting your shoulders drop, your posture finally releasing the tension it's held like a secret. The night is cool, but not cold. The air smells of salt and something faintly floral, perhaps jasmine. Or perhaps just the scent of rest. In the distance, a small lantern flickers, not electric, not modern, a soft flame behind old glass, bobbing gently on the water like a forgotten wish. It's strange. You don't remember seeing it before. And yet, it doesn't surprise you. Not here, not tonight. You imagine that maybe, just maybe, someone else once sat on this bench, long before you, shell in hand, lantern afloat, and maybe they sent out a hope into the world, trusting the sea to carry it somewhere it could grow. You let that thought linger. Because maybe peace isn't something you chase. Maybe it's something you return to. And just like that, a memory arrives. Not sharp, not detailed, just a feeling. A moment in time when you sat at another water's edge. Perhaps as a child, a lake, maybe, or a quiet stream. You had your hands in the water and your heart in the sky. And nothing hurt yet, not really. The memory doesn't last long. But it leaves behind something gentler than nostalgia. A reminder that you've known peace before, and you'll know it again. You take a deep breath. And this time, the breath doesn't feel like survival, it feels like belonging. There's movement beside you. You turn, slowly. But it's only your shadow, lengthened by the light of the floating lantern, flickering gently on the sand. It looks taller somehow, softer, almost like it's waving. You don't wave back, not because you're afraid, but because you finally understand. Your shadow isn't what follows you. It's what waits for you when you finally slow down. And tonight, you sit in silence a little longer. You don't check the time. The world beyond this shore can wait. For once, you are the one being patient. The shell rests now on your lap, its spiral catching the faintest light. You trace it slowly, thoughtfully. You wonder how many lifetimes it took for this shell to become what it is, how many waves, how many tides, how many quiet years resting beneath the sand. It makes you wonder, what if your soul is like this shell, shaped not by the loudest moments, but by the softest touches? A breeze picks up again, tugging gently at your sleeves. The lantern in the distance flickers once, then dims, then disappears behind a small wave. You don't feel sad, not at all, Because now you understand what it means to be carried. And you're ready to keep going. You stand, slower this time, as if not to startle the quiet. The bench behind you will remain, waiting, always, for someone else, or for you again someday. And as you begin to walk again, no longer looking for footprints, no longer needing them, you smile. Because now, you trust where your feet are leading. You step away from the bench, the sand gently folding beneath your feet like a soft memory. The inlet begins to fade behind you, but something about it stays in your chest, like the aftertaste of a sweet dream. Now, the landscape shifts once again. Ahead lies a path not marked by footprints or dunes, but by a winding trail of smooth stones, each one half sunk into the sand as if they were placed by quiet hands in another time. They glimmer faintly in the moonlight, wet from the sea mist, forming a subtle curve that disappears into a stand of tall seagrass. You follow. There's something comforting about the path, not rigid or sharp, just gently deliberate. It doesn't demand anything of you, only offers. You take each step with quiet gratitude, and soon, the air begins to change, warmer, and somewhere close, you smell something soothing. Lavender, or maybe the way lavender feels when you're wrapped in it. That soft exhale, that unclenching. As you walk, your mind drifts. You start to think about all the things you were taught to carry, and all the things you picked up without realizing. Expectations, regrets, the weight of unspoken things. Somewhere between the fourth and fifth stone, a thought lands in your heart with surprising gentleness. What if you could lay some of that down here? Not forget it, not throw it away, just let it rest. A few steps later, the path opens into a small, circular clearing nestled between low hills of sand and sea oats. And in the center stands something unexpected, a stone cairn. Tall and slightly uneven, made of dozens of rocks, each different in shape and hue. Some are smooth and pale, others rough and dark. Together, they look like a sculpture built by kindness. You step closer and notice that each stone has a small word etched onto it. Some are simple: love, grief, change. Others are more mysterious: again, hush, return. You run your fingers over a stone near the base. It reads, permission. Without thinking, you reach into your pocket and find a small pebble that had found its way in earlier, probably during your walk near the water. You didn't even notice it until now. You hold it for a moment, feeling its tiny weight, and then gently place it onto the cairn. No words, no need, just the act of letting something become part of something bigger. And in that moment, you feel yourself getting lighter, like you've just told the ocean a secret. And it whispered back, I've been waiting to hear that. The wind shifts gently through the grasses, brushing against your skin like soft threads. You close your eyes for a breath, maybe two, and in that space, you hear something, not with your ears, but with something deeper, a quiet thought, like a ripple. You don't have to carry everything with you to honor where you've been. You open your eyes, and for the first time, you realize how still the world is. Not frozen, not empty, just content. The kind of stillness that exists when things don't need to be more than they are. You walk around the cairn slowly, observing each stone. Some of the words feel like echoes of your own story. Others, like gentle promises for what's to come. You smile at one near the top. It reads simply, begin. And isn't that a strange comfort? That even here, at the midpoint of a quiet journey, the universe still offers the invitation to begin again. You take another step, not because you're in a rush, but because now, every step feels like a conversation, with the sand, the stars, the soft voice inside you that only speaks when the world grows quiet enough. You glance back at the cairn once, and it almost looks like it's nodding at you, as if it knows what you placed there, as if it recognizes your softness not as a weakness, but as a strength, one you've long underestimated. The path continues now as a faint line of flattened grass leading toward the dark silhouette of a grove just beyond the dunes. The trees are tall and spare, their trunks silver in the moonlight, their branches quiet as held breath. Before you step forward, you glance down at the shell still nestled in your hand. It hums again, a small, steady vibration, not loud, but sure, like it's remembering something. Or maybe like you are. And just like that, a new realization flickers in your mind like a flame catching wind. Peace isn't what waits at the end of the road. It's what finds you when you stop running from yourself. You begin to walk again. Your pace slower now, not because you're tired, but because you're savoring it. The silence, the rhythm, the way the night holds you without asking anything in return. Somewhere inside the grove ahead, something is waiting, but for the first time, you don't feel like you're chasing anything. You feel like you're arriving. The grove welcomes you like an old friend who doesn't need words. The trees, tall and thin, sway gently in unison, as though they're breathing slowly just to show you how. Their leaves whisper in the hush of the night breeze. Not secrets exactly, but gentle reminders. You are here. You are safe. You can soften now. As you step past the first tree, the ground changes beneath you. No longer sand, but moss, springy, damp, and cool. Each step feels like walking on memory foam. Except instead of remembering where you've been, it remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. You pause. The shell in your hand pulses once, like a soft heartbeat, and for a moment, the air around you grows thicker. Not in a heavy way, but in that charged kind of quiet. The kind you feel right before something meaningful happens. You look around, and for the first time, you notice the lights. Tiny pinpricks, glowing gently in the trees. They're not fireflies. They're not lanterns. They're something in between. Floating motes of soft golden blue light, like memories that have taken form. They drift slowly, not toward you, but around you, as if dancing to a music you can't hear but somehow remember. You take a step, and the lights gently follow. Their glow brushing your arms, your shoulders, your face. There's no fear in you now, just a slow, deep curiosity. You reach a small clearing in the center of the grove, and there it is, a pool, still and dark, perfectly circular, like the iris of a sleeping eye. It reflects the sky above so precisely that you can't tell where the trees end and the stars begin. It's quiet here, so quiet that you can hear your own heartbeat mingling with the subtle sound of the lights as they hover around the edges of the pool. You sit by its shore, not to search for answers, just to be. The shell, still warm in your palm, now vibrates with a rhythm so gentle it feels like a lullaby. You hold it close to your chest, and something inside you stirs. Not pain, not memory, but recognition. You lean toward the pool and catch your reflection, not just your face, but the soft outline of who you are beneath it, a version of you that has always been there, sitting just below the surface, waiting for you to slow down long enough to notice. And you do. This version of you has softer eyes. Not because they've never seen sorrow, but because they've allowed themselves to see through it. You gaze at yourself, and the lights hover closer. One of them, brighter than the rest, floats gently down and lands on the water's surface. It doesn't ripple, it doesn't disturb, it simply rests there. You whisper something you didn't know you needed to say. I forgive you. Not to the world, not to someone else, to yourself. The words don't echo. They don't vanish, they just settle into the pool like petals on a still pond. The light beside them grows warmer. So does your chest. And you realize, this is not just a pool of reflection. This is a place of return, where all the versions of you who've been tired, or afraid, or quieted, come to rest. You look back down at the shell, and it pulses once more. And this time, you hear it, not with your ears, but with your knowing. A quiet voice, yours, but older, softer, wiser. It says, "You are already who you've been seeking." You close your eyes, just for a breath, and when you open them again, the lights have begun to gather around you more closely, like old friends leaning in to listen. You sit there for what could be minutes or hours. Time no longer measures itself in minutes here, but in how gently the wind touches your face, how long the lights linger on your skin, how soft your breathing becomes. Eventually, you rise, not because you must, but because you're ready. The lights don't follow this time. They stay by the pool, their presence warm and steady. They've done what they came to do. You carry the feeling with you, like the memory of a melody you'll hum for the rest of your life. One last glance into the pool confirms it. You are not broken. You are becoming. You step out of the grove the way you entered, quietly, humbly, gratefully, and as the moss gives way to sand once more, and the trees behind you become silhouettes, you feel something deep and certain in your chest. The journey ahead is no longer about searching. It's about remembering. The trees fall behind you like a curtain drawing to a close, not to hide the past, but to gently say, that chapter is complete. You walk now along the shoreline again, but it's different this time. The sand is softer, kissed by the tide in rhythmic laps. The stars overhead seem lower somehow, as if they've leaned in a little closer just for you. The shell in your hand has quieted, but you still feel its presence, not just in your palm, but woven through your breath, your spine, your heartbeat. It's no longer something you carry. It's something that carries you. The air has grown cooler, but not unfriendly. There's a hush in the world, like the pause between a question and the answer that doesn't need words. Ahead, something glows faintly on the sand. As you draw near, you see what it is, a single, wide seashell, bigger than the one you've held all this time. It's resting open like a cradle, and inside it rests a rolled piece of parchment tied with seagrass. You hesitate, not out of fear, but out of reverence, because something about this feels old, sacred, like picking up a note that someone left for you lifetimes ago and finally arriving at the moment you're meant to read it. You sit beside it. The waves murmur beside you. The moon shines down, its light silver and forgiving. You untie the parchment. The writing is faint, written in a looping script that feels familiar, even if you've never seen it before. You read it softly, letting each word breathe. You have walked through tides and silence. You have remembered how to pause. You have let go without erasing. And now you are ready to listen deeply, to yourself, to the wind, to everything that speaks in hushes and dreams. You were never lost, only quiet. Welcome back. Your breath catches, not in sorrow, but in recognition. This message isn't from someone else. It's from you. Not the you that sits here tonight, but the you that planted this journey long ago. The version of you that understood peace isn't something found, but something prepared for, slowly, like a shore shaped by time and tide. You gently roll the parchment back, place it inside the shell, and nudge it slightly toward the ocean. Not far, just enough. The waves take it with soft hands. And as it drifts, you feel it again. That truth that doesn't shout. Some messages aren't written to change you. They're written to remind you that you've always known. You rise to your feet, your toes sinking gently into the cool sand. A soft wind lifts a few strands of your hair, brushing them across your cheek with the intimacy of an old lullaby. The sea responds with a slow sigh, like it too remembers something sweet. You begin to walk again, not because the destination is ahead, but because the moment is moving, and you're part of it. To your left, a cluster of tide pools sparkles in the moonlight. Small worlds, each one reflecting the stars in different ways. You kneel beside one and watch as a tiny crab scuttles between shadows. Unbothered by your presence, you smile. There's a life lesson in that small motion. Sometimes, the world is not asking for you to be noticed. It's asking for you to notice. You whisper a quiet, thank you, though you're not sure to whom. Maybe the stars, maybe the tide, maybe the versions of yourself that waited patiently through all the noise for this quiet return. Your journey tonight has not been loud, and yet, something inside you feels wide open now. Like a window long stuck has finally moved. Like a room that's been sealed too long now smells of lavender and fresh air. You keep walking, and then you stop, not for a sight or sound, but for a feeling. There's something familiar in the way the waves touch the rocks here. Something almost musical. You close your eyes, and the pattern becomes a rhythm. Not random, not background, but a song. And in that song, you remember something softly profound. Maybe your life isn't meant to be a story of arrivals, but of echoes, of feelings that return in new forms, of moments that rhyme without repeating. You turn slowly toward the sea, the breeze at your back, and you whisper into the night, just a breath of a sentence. A message carried by the wind. You don't need the shell this time, because the sea already knows. The sea receives your whisper like a mother pulling a child close, not to question, not to correct, but simply to hold. The tide rises just a breath, washing over your feet as if to say, I heard you. You stand still for a long moment. No thoughts, no to-do lists, no storylines to chase, just the rhythmic hush of the ocean and the quiet pulse of your own heart. It's here that the realization lands softly. You don't need to have it all figured out to feel peace. You only need to allow yourself to be here. You begin walking again, not with purpose but with presence. The sand is smoother now, glistening in silver ripples like folds in a silk blanket. Each step you take is met by the gentle echo of waves and the creak of distant wooden boats, long tethered and gently shifting. In the distance, a glow appears, not bright, not beckoning, just steady. You follow, and soon, you find yourself standing before something unexpected, a small wooden dock, worn and uneven, reaching out into a calm cove. Beside it sits a single rowboat, rocking slightly in the tide. No oars, no lantern, just the open boat and the water beyond it, glassy and still. You pause, because this feels like a choice. The kind that doesn't announce itself with trumpets or tension. The kind that simply waits to be noticed. A gentle voice rises inside you, not from fear, but from the deep well of knowing. You don't need to go farther. You just need to go deeper. And with that, you step onto the dock. Each board creaks softly underfoot, like they remember every person who's stood here before. Each with their own questions, their own stories, their own quiet hopes. You climb into the boat. It doesn't drift. It simply holds you. You lie back, resting against its curved side, letting your hands trail in the cold, silken water. The stars above blink gently, their light rippling in the surface beside you. Then the boat begins to move, not because you push it, but because the water decides you're ready. No rush, no destination, just the boat, the sea, and the stars keeping you company. You feel the shell warm again in your pocket. You forgot it was there, but it hasn't forgotten you. You pull it out, cradle it to your chest, and for the first time tonight, you whisper something not to the ocean, but to yourself. I'm proud of you. It lands softly, not as a reward, but as an arrival. You look up, and the stars feel closer than ever before, like you could name them not by science, but by memory. That one? That's the moment you first realized you could let go. That one? The night you sat quietly, heartbreaking, and still chose to be kind. That cluster over there? All the little acts of grace you gave without needing anything in return. You close your eyes, and you realize something that makes your breath still in your chest. You've been the ocean all along. The storms, the calm, the tides, the whispers, the vastness. And the boat? It's not carrying you away. It's returning you, to you. Your thoughts begin to slow now, like the circles in water after the last stone has sunk. Your body feels light, not weightless, but rooted in something tender. like moss growing on memory. You let your hands drift through the water. You let your eyes soften toward the stars. And in that in-between space, that soft silence where dream and waking meet, a final whisper rises, not from the shell, not from the sky, but from deep inside you. Some lifetimes don't begin until we finally come home to ourselves. And here, rocking gently on the stilled breath of the sea, you realize you are home. The boat drifts further now, not into darkness, but into a space between, where night doesn't end and morning hasn't quite begun. A place where time exhales. Here, the sea is quiet as sleep. The stars hang lower like pearls on invisible strings. And the air carries the hush of lullabies sung lifetimes ago. You are no longer walking or waiting. You are simply held. The shell rests against your heart, warm and steady. It doesn't speak, but its silence is full, like a pause between two people who understand each other without needing to say a word. A gull calls softly in the distance, its voice drifting like a string plucked gently, not to wake you, but to remind you, you're still here, still floating, still arriving. As you lie back in the boat, the wood creaking with the memory of every soul it has carried. You notice the sky change, not quickly, not dramatically, just a faint lightening near the horizon, like someone lighting a candle in a room far away. The stars begin to fade, not disappear, just soften. You whisper a quiet thank you to them, like old friends who've walked beside you through a long night. Some may return, some may not, but tonight, they've done their part. You sit up slowly, and there, rising gently from the far edge of the water, is a shore you haven't seen before. New, but familiar. Not the beach you came from, not the grove where you remembered, but something in between. You let the boat drift closer. No need to steer, no urgency to arrive. When it touches sand, you step out barefoot, and the earth beneath you feels different, not just in texture, but in welcome. This shore knows your name. Though it doesn't speak it, it knows the weight of your footsteps, the softness of your breath, the truth of your becoming. You begin walking once more, not because you need to get somewhere, but because something gentle calls you forward. Up ahead is a small dune, barely a rise, but you climb it slowly. And when you reach the top, you see it, an old lighthouse. Its light is not spinning. It glows steadily, one single, golden beam, warm as candlelight, reaching out across the water like a soft hand, beckoning no one and everyone all at once. You sit at the base of the dune and simply look, not searching, just seeing. And as the light spills gently across your face, you feel it again, that message. Quiet but clear. Peace doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes it just comes when you finally stop asking. You lie down in the sand. The shell rests beside you. And above, the sky becomes softer than sleep. No more questions. No more directions. Just the truth of the moment, whispering through your body. You have arrived. You are enough. And somewhere, far beyond even this gentle shore, the echoes of your journey ripple outward, soft and endless, like seashells tumbling through time, carrying the message forward. Peace lives in the quiet spaces you dare to keep sacred. You close your eyes, and this time, not to dream, but to rest in the space you've created. A space no tide can erase. A peace that waits quietly, always, just like you. The waves have softened now into a lullaby. The stars, barely there, linger like the final notes of a song played for no one in particular, yet heard by your heart all the same. The world around you, this slow, sacred place of sand, light, and water, fades gently into something even calmer. There's no need to move anymore. No need to figure anything out. You've walked a long way tonight, through memory and metaphor, through reflection and rediscovery. You've returned to places you didn't know you'd missed, met parts of yourself long waiting to be held again. And here you are, on the shore of your own becoming. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders release what they've carried. You've listened deeply. You've remembered kindly. And now, you're safe. Inhale softly. Exhale everything. You can rest here for as long as you like. And when the morning finds you, and it will greet someone lighter. Someone more whole. Someone wrapped in the hush of their own knowing. So for now, let go of the tide, of the time, of everything you thought you had to be. You've already become what matters most. Present, peaceful, home. Thank you for walking this journey with me tonight. Sleep well, gentle soul. You are held. You are loved. You are enough.